The saintly ways of Santa Claus. Just kidding. We are going to talk about the real Santa Claus. And the legend missed many things about him. He stopped human trafficking, saved people from innocent execution, saved ships from sinking, and became one of the most loved saints in Christianity. These are the saintly ways of St Nicholas the Wonder Worker. St Nicholas was born in Patara in Lycia at the end of the 3rd century. He was born from Christian parents who had been childless for a long time. From birth, he showed great love for virtue and observing the disciplines of the church. He fasted from milk on Wednesdays and Fridays by refusing to get fed by his mother's breastfeeding. From a young age, he was educated in theology and was ordained a priest by his uncle, who was a bishop. Apparently, holiness ran through his family. When his parents passed away, he gave away all of his inheritance to those in need. He excelled in the virtue of vigil, fasting and prayer, but his greatest glory to God became the virtue of almsgiving. It would be weird if the real Santa Claus would be greedy. He regarded himself as only a deliverer of goods, which actually belonged to the poor, and took particular care to keep his good deeds secret. One day, St. Nicholas heard about a rich man with 3 daughters, who had lost all of his wealth, and in an act of despair wanted to give up his daughters into prostitution. St. Nicholas couldn't let this happen, so in the middle of the night, he went to the house of this man and threw a bag of gold coins through the window of their house, enough to pay the marriage portion of one of the daughters. Another night, St. Nicholas did the same thing for the second daughter. On again another night, St. Nicholas planned to do the same for the last daughter. But this time, the father of the 3 daughters wanted to know who this generous man was. So he stayed up all night and waited for the man to throw gold coins through his window. And there it was. A bag of gold coins flew through his window. The man went outside and saw St. Nicholas running away. The man took a sprint and ran after him and caught him. And he said to St. Nicholas that he is going to tell everyone in the city what good deeds he did. But this is not what St. Nicholas wanted. So he made the man promise to tell no one of it until he himself would die. God granted St. Nicholas the gifts of miracles. On pilgrimage to holy places, he twice by his prayers calmed the winds on the sea that were threatening the ship that he was sailing in. Soon after his return from pilgrimage, the synod of bishops gathered to elect a new bishop for the city of Myra. They had a problem though. They did not know who to choose, until an angel made known to them to elect St. Nicholas, which they obeyed. Among the fathers gathered at the First Ecumenical Council in Nicaea in 325, St. Nicholas was one of the leading champions of orthodoxy, defending the faith against the heresy of Arius. St. Nicholas famously slapped Arian during the council, although we don't really know if this was true or not. This was first written about in the 14th century, 1,000 years after St. Nicholas lived, and none of the fathers present at the council documented this moment. So some historians think that there's no historical value behind it, although other historians defend this by the criterion of embarrassment, which is a difficult understanding, but it shortly means that there was no reason for hagiographers, which are the writers of the lives of the saints, to make the story up, as it would greatly affect the reputation of St. Nicholas. So we can't know for 100% that the story was true. But as you've seen, some historians think that it is true. So it's up to you if you believe it or not. Disclaimer: that it is said that St. Nicholas slapped someone doesn't mean that slapping someone is considered an holy act. So please don't get any creative ideas, dear viewer. The man of God saved the lives of 3 innocent men that were unjustly condemned to death, As they were about to get executed, St. Nicholas suddenly appeared and pushed the executioner's sword to the ground, saving the lives of the 3 innocent men. He angrily scolded a member of the court for taking a bribe against the 3 innocent men. Not much later, St. Nicholas again saved 3 unjust condemned men, this time 3 Roman officers. He appeared in a dream to the Emperor Constantine and the governor of the city, showing them that the men were innocent. The 3 officers were very grateful to God and the saint for their deliverance. They later became monks. On many other occasions after his death, as well as during his lifetime, St. Nicholas has miraculously assisted ships in distress and people making voyages, and so is venerated as the protector of all who sail the seas. When he fell asleep, his people lamented much about the loss of their holy bishop, by which they received much benefit. His holy relics were placed in the church built in his honor at Myra. Every year, crowds of people came to Myra to venerate them. The devil could not bear the glory that shone from the tomb of St. Nicholas. So one day he took the form of a poor old lady and approached some pilgrims leaving for Myra. Lamenting that she could not travel herself to venerate the relics, she asked the pilgrims to take some oil with them for the vigil lamps. During the journey on the ship, St. Nicholas appeared to the captain and told him to throw the oil overboard. As soon as the captain did as he was told, the surface of the water caught fire and swirled about in a blazing flame. The passengers thanked God for saving the church by his saint. In 1087, after Myra had fallen to the Saracens, the holy relics of St. Nicholas were transferred to Bari in Italy, where they are to this day. My reflections on St. Nicholas. There are not many saints that are highly venerated in the East and the West. St. Nicholas is one of the few. This is a great example of something that connects the East and West among great differences. Today we are blinded by a fog of discussions and arguments, why a given denomination is better than the other, and by that are quick to remember all the things that divide us as Christians. St. Nicholas helps us to see through that fog and reminds us of the similarities that we share in venerating the same person. We can argue that St. Nicholas is so popular because he is so understandable. What culture would not value a person saving young girls from forced prostitution, or delivering 3 innocent men from execution, or a person that gave away all of his inheritance to the poor? For me, as a convert to Orthodoxy from a Catholic family, St. Nicholas is a great guide in how to navigate life being Orthodox among Catholic friends and family. He is someone that both sides can understand and unite in venerating him. What I think is also important to mention is that St. Nicholas is a patron saint of all who sail the seas, and travelers in general. So I think it is good to know that we can ask St. Nicholas for help in asking God for safe and beneficial travels. We can all try to be a little bit more like St. Nicholas, even if only to give a little to charity, or being a little bit bolder when experiencing injustice. I believe that anything that will make us closer to St. Nicholas will help us in our journey to God. Thank you for watching this video, and remember to be saintly.